On News Hour tonight, Peter Obi joins National Assembly protest over e-transmission of results. Gunmen abduct 9 Catholic worshippers in Benue. Appeal Court affirms Senate suspension of Senator Natasha. And on the foreign scene, IMO confirms 53 migrants dead or missing after Libya boat disaster. Hello there, a very good evening. Welcome to News Hour on Trust TV. I am Fatima Abbas Hassan. Now the news in details. Hundreds of protesters besieged the National Assembly on Monday to oppose the Senate's amendment of the Electoral Act. The protest, tagged Occupy the National Assembly, was organized by the Obedient Movement and other pro-democracy groups in the country over the removal of the phrase real time from provisions of the electronic transmission of election results. The report.
The 2023 Labour Party presidential candidate, Peter Obi, also joined the protesters, throwing more weight behind the protest. Carrying placards with the inscriptions, "Our votes must count," and "No to electoral robbery," the demonstrators marched from the Federal Secretariat to the National Assembly. They were, however, stopped by heavily armed security operatives comprising the police, the army, and the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, and were forced to hold the protest outside the complex. Addressing journalists at the protest ground, Obi warned that credible elections remain critical to Nigeria's stability and development.
The election must be transmitted electronically from the polling booth direct. We don't want any point any longer. Let people watch it. That's what is happening in South Africa. That's happening in Ghana. That's happening everywhere. That's what we have suffered before. We don't want any glitch again. Glitch is finished. We want things to come happen. No more glitch.
Other protesters accused lawmakers of undermining democratic reforms and vowed to sustain the demonstrations until the National Assembly reverses the amendment.
We voted people into the National Assembly. We have a representative democracy. That then means that not all of us can make decisions. Not all of us are in power. We have certain people, and that's why once every 4 years, there is election for people to elect the people that will represent them. What we have at the National Assembly, instead of representatives of the people, unfortunately, they have turned themselves to the mouthpiece of the executive, and that must not be allowed to happen. Electronic transmission of results is sacrosanct. It is not something that it is not whether Senate likes it. The Senate must do it.
Of course, as a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, like I keep saying, this is the only country that we have. For us, we want anything that will make Nigeria a great and comfortable country for all our citizens, and that's why we're here just for one purpose, for the electoral reform. We don't think it's too much to ask the National Assembly to do. Just do that which is right and that which is needful. Pass the electoral reform. I mean, it is simple to say electronic transmission of results, real time. That's all that we ask for. And if this government is fair to herself, I think it's one thing that they should pass without any itch. And so we challenge the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, to do the needful. I mean, this is what Nigerians want.
Transfer and transmission are two different words. They have no relationship. Transfer, most likely they may tell you that transfer, according to their they may tell you that when you transfer it from where you write it manually, you cannot go back to the collation center to transfer it to the IREF. But what we want is direct transmission in real time.
Recall that the Senate last week passed the Electoral Act 2022 Amendment Bill 2026 through third reading, with critics saying that deleting real-time weakens safeguards against manipulation ahead of the 2027 general elections. Though the Senate has insisted and still insists, it did not reject electronic transmission outrightly, but however, The protesters are still arguing that the amendment is leaving room for post-election interference.
Well, Nigeria's electoral system is in the eye of a political storm again. At the center is the electronic transmission of results, a phrase that now carries huge weight for the credibility of the 2027 general elections. Abdullahi Ahmed explains.
Nigeria is again in a fierce debate over the electronic transmission of results and the credibility of our elections. The stakes are high. Trust in the electoral system is at an all-time low. Many Nigerians, civil society groups and workers' unions say transparent transmission of results is key if elections are to be accepted and peaceful. But the legislature has taken a controversial stand that keeps certainty out of the law and leaves the next general election open to fresh dispute. The issue is simple, but the stakes are high. Nigerians want to trust the numbers announced after they vote. Under the Electoral Act of 2022, electronic transmission of results is allowed, but not compulsory. Now, that gap has already shaped court decisions. After the 2023 elections, judges ruled that INEC had the power to decide how results were transmitted because the law did not make real-time electronic upload a strict requirement. Critics say the loophole helped fuel confusion and mistrust when uploads slowed and collation delays followed. Now, as amendments are considered, many civil society organizations warn that keeping the language vague could open the same wounds yet again. Opposition parties argue that without mandatory real-time uploads, doubts about manipulation between polling units and coalition centers will remain. Now, the Nigeria Labour Congress has also raised the temperature of the conversation, warning of mass action or even boycott of the polls if transparency is not strengthened in the law. But there's a practical side to this debate. Nigeria's internet reach is growing, yet not universal. Recent figures show that internet penetration stands about 45% of the population, meaning more than half of Nigerians still live in areas where connectivity can be weak or unreliable. Add power problems and network outages, and you see the challenge of expecting smooth, real-time uploads from every polling unit nationwide. Now, supporters of electronic transmission say the upside is clear. Faster public access to results can reduce tension. Visible uploads from polling units can limit rumors. Transparent systems can cut down on long legal disputes and improve voter confidence. When people believe the process is open, they are more likely to accept the outcome, even if their preferred candidate loses. Now, globally, Nigeria sits in the middle of the pack on election quality. Democracy tracking groups score the country around average on overall electoral democracy, but much lower on the, quote, clean election scale, which measures irregularities and public confidence in results. Now, that gap explains why this debate matters so much. Still, technology alone does not guarantee smooth elections. Countries like Ghana run largely manual systems backed by strong party agent presence and clear procedures, and their results are widely accepted. India, with its mix of paper trails and strict verification steps, also shows that trust often rests on process, discipline, and political will as much as on digital tools. So, here's the question for you. Is technology the solution to Nigeria's election disputes, or is the deeper problem the law, trust, and political will needed to make any system credible? Can you have fair elections with old-school processes that the people trust, or do you need modern technology backed up with law and infrastructure? The debate going into 2027 is now not just technical, it is political and legal.
Thank you, Ahmed. Now, joining us via Zoom to discuss the Senate's amendment of the Electoral Act is election observer Emmanuel Njoku. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. We can hear you. Are you there, Emmanuel? Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, I can hear you. Speak out well so that we can hear you. Okay, now, what does removing real time from electronic transmission mean for election integrity in practice?
Well, the truth is, if we look at the numbers of Nigerians who got interested, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Numbers of Nigerians who participated in the 2023 general election, looking at the numbers of people that registered and the level of participation of Nigerians, Nigeria, and even outside Nigeria, that level of trust was because of the assurance and the promise that was given by the electoral management body that there will be electronic transmission of results real time, which will give citizens, the opportunity to also follow results. And if you recall, Nigerians were able to see that happen in the Ekiti and Osun election of 2022, and they saw how fast results turned in and how, it helped the whole process. So for that reason, clearly, we can both agree that yes, having electronic transmission, real-time electronic transmission of results will increase trust and also increase participation of Nigerians in the electoral process, which may also help in having better elections. But sadly, the National Assembly decided to be retrogressive in regards to electoral reforms at this very time, especially at a time where the trust deficit is very huge amongst citizens and elections. There was a recent survey carried out by one of our sister organizations, YAGA, recently, which shows the number of Nigerians who were interested to vote in 2027, which is about 70-something%, but however, just about 40% trust the system. So what National Assembly did in taking us backward before 2023 will further, depreciate the trust that Nigerians have in the system and elections.
Okay. Now, if e-transmission still exists on paper, does the new wording protect transparency or give too much room for discretion?
What this whole thing means, if the president assents, is that transmission of results will be as it has always been, manual. In the 2023 elections, Nigerians were assured or made to think in an ambiguous way that results will be transferred electronically. But the Supreme Court has come out to clarify that it is not so. It was an option, but it wasn't mandatory. So what this thing has said now is INEC has the right to decide to choose how they want to transmit results. And as it is right now, it is manual transmission of results that we'll be having in 2027 general election. And clearly, you can feel the pulse beyond the set of Nigerians that decided to do the protest, and many more Nigerians which I understand applying to protest against this. It's clear that the Nigerians are not happy with this decision of the National Assembly.
Well, looking ahead to 2027, how could this shift affect voter trust, observer reports, and post-election court battles?
Yeah, clearly, we've suffered, Nigeria as a nation, so we've suffered voter apathy. As at the 2023 general election, Nigeria had a voter register of about 93.4 million voters plus. And you recall that the number of people that participated were just about 25%. So this, like I said, depreciate participation. There was one other thing that the National Assembly failed to do, which in my opinion, this is a bit digressive for what you're asking, but a lot of Nigerians do not vote because of the use of the PVs. Part of the reforms we were expected to was the position of INEC. It's INEC that is proposing this to National Assembly that we should do away with the permanent voters card. And as a matter of fact, in the Electoral Act section 47, subsection 1, there is nowhere that the Electoral Act spoke about the word permanent voters card. it says voters card. So what INEC was proposing to increase voter participation was for Nigerians to be able to use their paper-generated slip from INEC website as a voter's card. That way, when you misplace your voter's card, when your voter's card gets defaced, when it gets broken, when you want to, it's easier. You can easily go and reprint this thing. That way, more people will have the voter's card to participate in the election. So you can see that beyond the issue on electronic transmission of votes, there are many other things that the National Assembly did not, that were expected that if they were progressive, that they were supposed to do, which they failed to do, which has set us far, far behind in the 2027. So it is going to impact heavily in the level of participation of citizens who would want to vote. The last time people came out to vote, they didn't necessarily come out to vote because there was an article on the ballot or there was a P2B on the ballot, but they came out to vote because they trusted what they saw in Ekiti, in Osun, in some by-elections in Nasarawa State, and I think Anambra election, the use of the electronic transmission of votes, whereby you can vote and go home and go to the INEC IRF, log in and see your result of your polling unit, search and see that what was counted and pasted at the polling unit is exactly what INEC has put on their website, meaning that your result will, their votes counted, but taking that away from Nigerians, means putting Nigerians far apart from participating in the election. It is very sad. It is very retrogressive. It is not where we are supposed to be as a nation. And talking about electronic transmission of votes, on the argument of the National Assembly about the use of technology and the risk, what we are doing in Nigeria is special, is different from what every other country is doing. So the chances of rigging what was transmitted is difficult. Recall that transmission of results is not transmitting the numbers. What they are transmitting is a result that has been handwritten and snapped with the beavers and then transmitted. If what they were transmitting was the numbers, it will be easy for someone to probably hack the system and change the numbers. But what you are transmitting is the Form EC8A, which is the polling unit result, which has been manually handwritten and signed by the party agents, then snapped and sent. So there is no chance. It's foolproof on a good day. I know it doesn't even need 5G to transmit. What it needs is just 2G. And it does not necessarily need to transmit at the point where you sent it. You know how you send a WhatsApp message, in a place where you don't have network, but once you get to a place where there's network, the message drops. So there is no reason, really. We cannot yet understand why the National Assembly will choose to, through this resolution of theirs and this the vote that they've made on this electoral reform, set us backwards. So negatively on the 2027 general election.
Thank you very much, election observer Emmanuel Njoko. We would like to sincerely apologize for the poor audio in some parts of that Zoom interview. Now, moving on. In a related development, the former Kaduna State Governor, Nasir El-Rufai, has thrown his weight behind ongoing calls for the mandatory electronic transmission of election results. El-Rufai made this position known during a virtual interview on Trust TV's 30 Minutes with Manir Dang Ali, where he also spoke of his relationship with President Bola Tinubu on the issue of godfatherism in Nigerian politics. Dorcas Yakubu has the details.
According to El-Rufai, the All Progressives Congress APC is behind efforts to frustrate real-time transmission of election results, adding that political interference continues to undermine the country's electoral process.
It's unfortunate I have not been able to return to Nigeria before today. I would have joined Mr. Peter Obi and other party leaders in protesting to the National Assembly to restore the real-time and mandatory transmission of results from the polling unit. It is the only way we can stop the manipulation that goes on in the collation centers. That is where the real rigging takes place. Rigging doesn't take place in the polling unit. It is in the collation centers. And this provision, which has been passed by the House of Representatives, but sadly being frustrated by the Senate, would have improved the quality of our elections. But we all know why the ruling party and the sitting government doesn't want that, because they know they can't win the elections. And the only way they have a fighting chance is to be able to manipulate the results after people have voted.
The former governor, while also reacting to reports suggesting a fallout between him and President Tinubu, dismissed the claims, saying there was no personal rift, but rather differences in views on certain national issues. He stressed that he was never a close friend of the president, explaining that his support for Tinubu was based on appeals from Islamic stakeholders in the southwest.
There is an assumption that I was ever Tinubu's friend. I was not. We never got along with Tinubu. Okay, we never had a personal relationship. We never had a prior relationship like the one I had with General Buhari of blessed memory. Okay, so I want everyone to understand that. For me, Tinubu was initially an aspirant of the party, and I was approached by certain Islamic stakeholders from the southwest and asked to support the emergence of a southwest Muslim presidential candidate. That was how even the discussion started. I knew that we had an understanding with the South, or specifically the Southwest, that after 8 years of Buhari, power will go to the South. It was a matter of principle. I stood for that. It wasn't about Tinubu. Tinubu just happened to be an accidental beneficiary of that.
On the issue of godfatherism, El-Rufai maintained that he does not believe in the practice, describing it as detrimental to democratic development. He also clarified that Kaduna State Governor Uba Sani is not his godson, contrary to widespread public opinion.
I have never believed in godfatherism. Never. And I was an outspoken opponent of it. I even went to Lagos and I answered questions about godfatherism that led to attacks from the nation. The Tinubu wolves, went after me because they thought I was talking about him. But I was talking about a principle. When you have power, exercise it for public good. When you're done, leave. I made it repeatedly clear to Uba Sani before his election and after that as soon as we get you elected, we hand over, I'm gone. I will not even visit Kaduna for the first 6 months to give you space to settle down and carry the burden of your office. I'm not interested in being a godfather. I don't want to control anybody.
El-Rufai's remarks come amid renewed national conversations on electoral reforms and transparency ahead of future elections. The call for mandatory electronic transmission of results continues to gain momentum as lawmakers consider possible amendments to the electoral framework. Dorcas Yakubu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And away from the Electoral Act amendment, President Bola Tinubu has assured Nigerians that his administration will conquer the threats posed by terrorists and bandits in the country. He made the assurance during his opening remarks at the ongoing National Executive Council Conference on Inclusive Growth and Sustainable National Development. Tinubu commended several governors, notably those of Borno, Katsina, and Kaduna, for their role in protecting the country's freedom and security. Speaking on his government's efforts to transform the economy, President Tinubu said his administration is working to strengthen macroeconomic stability. He further disclosed plans to improve the welfare of citizens through enhanced social investment programs.
I'm living here again to further find means to strengthen our security forces, to defeat terrorism and combat it. That I promise you is what has kept all of us sleepless at night. But I assure you that we will win with determination and resilience. We will overcome this unacceptable terrorism and banditry. It's not part of our culture. It's foreign to us.
In the meantime, residents of Danghonu 2 community in New Millennium City, Chukwu local government area of Kaduna State, on Monday, staged a protest at the Millennium City Divisional Police Headquarters over recurring kidnappings and attacks. The protesters, as early as 7 o'clock in the morning, Monday blocked major access road to the police station, demanding urgent security intervention to halt the wave of abductions in their neighborhood. The said bandits struck again at about 11:30 p.m. on Sunday, abducting 7 persons from 2 families in the latest attack. The residents said the latest incident brings to 11 the number of kidnapping cases recorded in the small community within a few months. When contacted, the Kaduna State Police Command spokesperson, DSP Mansur Hassan, said the police received a distress call on the attack late on Sunday and responded promptly by deploying officers who were joined by soldiers to the scene. He, however, lamented that due to the terrain and poor road network leading to the community, security operatives arrived late, allowing the bandits to escape with the victims despite an exchange of gunfire. And gunmen have abducted 9 worshippers of St. John's Catholic Church, Ojije, Otunku district of Ado local government area, Benue State. The victims were reportedly whisked away on Sunday during a vigil in the church premises. A former councillor representing Okwenyo Ward in the Ado local government legislative council, Emmanuel Uda, confirmed the incident on Monday. Uda described the abduction as a targeted and planned crime against the church when innocent worshippers were the most sacred ground. He explained that people of the area were traumatized by the incident, adding that they no longer feel safe. Confirming the abduction, spokesperson of the Benue State Police Command, Udeme Edet, said 9 worshippers were abducted. Gunmen on Sunday evening stormed Dogorua community in the Bashar district of Wasai local government area of Plateau State, killing a resident and kidnapping an imam, Abdurrashid Baduku, his prayer caller, and 6 others in the area. Dogorua is one of the communities that has been suffering from banditry and kidnapping in recent times. Residents said the victims were attacked on the outskirts of the community while they were making charcoal for commercial use. A youth leader in Wasai, Shepi Sambo, confirmed the incident, saying the attack has caused panic among local residents. Sambo said security personnel are now stationed in the area, added that more have been deployed to boost security, making the residents to remain calm. The state police spokesperson, SP Alabo Alfred, was yet to respond to inquiries at that press time. Meanwhile, the 7 construction workers abducted from Kwara State Government Road Project have been released after weeks in captivity. The workers were kidnapped on December 15th while carrying out construction work along the Sabaja Owa Onire Road in Ishin local government area, an incident that sparked widespread concern among residents and families of the victims. Confirming their release in a statement issued on Monday in Ilori, the state capital, the press secretary of the Ministry of Works, Olajide Abolari, said the State Commissioner for Works and Transport, Abdul Qayyum Olododo, revealed that the workers regained freedom following coordinated efforts by the state government and security agencies. Olododo described the development as a significant boost to public safety efforts in the state, praising Governor Abdurrahman Abdurazak for what he called firm political will in confronting insecurity. He also disclosed that 2 of the abducted workers were engineers in the employment of the Kwara State Ministry of Works, noting that their ordeal underscored the risks faced by personnel involved in public infrastructure projects. And the Kwara State Governor, Abdurrahman Abdurazak, has led his counterparts from Kogi and Ekiti states, Usman Ododo and Biodun Oyebanji, on a visit to victims of the Woro terrorist attack, currently receiving treatment at a hospital in Ilorin, the state capital. The governors sympathized with the victims and prayed for their quick recovery. The report.
The governors of Ekiti and Kogi states are in Kwara State to commiserate with the people over the deadly attacks in Woro Kiyama local government area, which claimed the lives of scores of people. Accompanied by their host, Governor Abdul Razak, the two governors visited survivors of the attack who are receiving medical care in an Ilorin hospital. While many of the injured have since been discharged, a few remain hospitalized due to critical conditions. Speaking with journalists at the Amadou Bello House, Ilorin, Ekiti State Governor Biodun Oyebanji described the attack as unfortunate and expressed sympathy with Governor Abdulrazak and the people of Kwara State. Governor Oyebanji also commended both the federal and state governments for their swift response to the incident.
I'm here on behalf of the government and people of Ekiti State with my friend and brother, the governor of Kogi State, to express solidarity with His Excellency, the governor and the chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum, and to also commiserate with him and the people of Kwara State on the unfortunate incident. And we have discussed and we have noted the swift reactions and the leadership he provided at a time like this, and commended Mr. President for his swift response to this, and we condemn this action in its entirety. We stand in solidarity with the people of Kwara State and we pray for the repose of the souls of the departed.
Governor Oyebanji said the visiting governors stand in solidarity with the people of Kwara State and prayed for the repose of the souls of those who lost their lives. Earlier, a federal government delegation led by the Deputy Senate President, Senator Jibril Barrow, paid a condolence visit to the Emir of Ilorin, Ibrahim Sulu Gambari, following the death of the Chief Imam of Ilorin and other victims of the Woro Kiyama attack.
The President is also very well saddened about what occurred, and he has rejuvenated. He has directed that the military intervention there should be rejuvenated, so that this kind of thing will not happen again. He is taking steps to ensure proper security of that area, not only that area, but the entire country.
It's a solemn occasion today. Let me thank Mr. President for sending a powerful delegation. We appreciate you. We appreciate your solidarity with us. The family, it's one family in Kwara from the Emir downwards. It's one family in Ilorin from the Emir downwards. Thank you for coming.
The host governor thanked President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for his prompt response to the attack and for dispatching a high-powered federal delegation to the state.
And to the judiciary. The Court of Appeal, Abuja, has held that the Senate acted within its powers when it suspended the lawmaker representing Kogi Central, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Oduaghan, for misconduct. In a unanimous decision by a 3-member panel of justices, the appellate court said it was satisfied that neither the appellant's parliamentary privilege nor her constitutional rights were breached as a result of her suspension from the Senate. The court, however, vacated the contempt proceeding and $5 million fine that were awarded against Senator Akpoti-Oduaghan over the satirical apology she made to the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio. In its lead verdict that was delivered by Justice Abba Mohammed, the appellate court held that the Senate President was not wronged to have denied the Kogi senator, who was not on the official seat that was allotted to her during plenary on February the 20th, 2025, the opportunity to speak. It held that the Senate President is empowered by the rules to allocate seats to members, adding that lawmakers are only allowed to speak from seats allocated to them. And the former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Daisani Alison Madueke, has returned to court in London as prosecutors continue presenting evidence in a high-profile corruption and bribery trial with international implications. The Crown alleges Alison Madueke received cash and luxury benefits in exchange for influence over oil and gas contracts, but she denies the claims. On Monday, jurors heard testimonies from a luxury furnishings retailer and a former housekeeper as prosecutors sought to show how high-end purchases and property use were allegedly routed through intermediaries. The 69-year-old is accused of multiple bribery counts stemming from a years-long investigations. The alleged offenses occurred between 2011 and 2015 when she was Nigeria's oil minister, but maintained a UK address. This is the News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up after the break, Borno Police Constable returns 2.6 million naira sent in error. More news when we return after the break. Do stay. You're welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is the News Hour on Trust TV. We now take a quick look at our major stories once again. Peter Obi joins National Assembly protest over e-transmission of results. And gunmen abduct 9 Catholic worshippers in Benue. Moving on to other stories, a serving police officer in Borno State, Muhammad, has earned widespread commendation after returning 2.6 million naira that was mistakenly transferred into his bank account by a customer of a fintech company, MoneyPoint. Upon discovering the unexpected credit, Muhammad chose the path of honesty and accountability. Rather than ignoring the transfer or taking advantage of the situation, he made deliberate efforts to trace the source of the funds, contacted the appropriate channels, and ensured that the entire amount was safely returned to the rightful owner. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, says the fight against corruption is becoming increasingly complex and costly, even as the agency records improved convictions and asset recoveries. These concerns were highlighted during the Commission's 2025 budget appraisal before the House of Representatives. The report.
He disclosed these at the Budget Appraisal and Defense session with the House Committee on Financial Crimes for the 2025 and 2026 fiscal years. Addressing lawmakers, EFCC Chairman Ola Olukoyede said sustained collaboration with the National Assembly over the past 2 years has significantly strengthened the Commission's performance. He revealed that the Commission has already submitted its 2024 annual report and is expected to present the 2025 report to the National Assembly by September. Olukoyede explained that the growing shift towards technology-driven and digital fraud has compelled the EFCC to invest heavily in forensic and digital investigation tools, a development that has significantly increased operational cost.
My challenge is money, money, money. I tell you, Mr. Chair, just this last week, we had cause to have a bill, an invoice for just one item in my forensic lab for over 4 billion, just one item. Because the activities of the fraudsters are going, high-tech, the same way too, that we are trying to stem the tide of this malfeasance, we must also upgrade our technology capacity. And going forward, during my presentation, we'll be able to highlight those key areas that we want your support.
The Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit also briefed the committee with its director and chief executive officer, Afsat Bakari, highlighting Nigeria's recent exit from the Financial Action Task Force grey list. She also noted that the country's removal from the European Union's high-risk third country list, attributing the progress to coordinated national efforts involving the EFCC and other relevant agencies.
I also want to inform this honorable committee that Nigeria has also exited the European Union's removal of Nigeria from the high-risk third country list for money laundering and terrorism financing. These milestones and achievements, coordinated by the NFIU, working with close partners like the EFCC and other stakeholders, have earned Nigeria a seat at the FATF under its guest jurisdiction initiative, enabling us to participate in FATF plenary and working group meetings and contribute to global anti-money laundering and counter-financing of terrorism standard setting.
Earlier, chairman of the House Committee on Financial Crimes, Ginger Onwusibe, described the budget session as critical to Nigeria's economic stability and the ongoing anti-corruption campaign. He assured that the 10th House of Representatives remains committed to strengthening the country's legal and institutional framework against financial crimes through targeted legislative support.
On our part, the 10th House of Representatives, under the leadership of the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Abbas Tajuddin, is committed to making legislative interventions that are effective and impactful. We remain resolute in our duty to craft laws that are robust, coherent, and responsive to evolving criminal tactics.
Lawmakers insist that sustained oversight and adequate funding are essential to winning Nigeria's fight against corruption.
In a related development, the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Mohammed Ali Pate, has called for increased domestic funding for mass vaccination programs, warning that heavy reliance on donor support threatens long-term health security. He made the call while defending the ministry's budget before the House Committee on Healthcare Services, noting that recent health sector reforms have helped sustain immunization coverage with donor support. Pate disclosed that the ministry received only 36 million naira out of its 218 billion naira 2025 capital budget, blaming the shortfall on cash planning constraints and delays in counterpart funding. He added that the 2026 proposed budget aligns with national development priorities and was prepared using the Give Miss platform. In response, the committee chairman, Honorable Amos Magaji, requested full documentation of donor funds received and how they were utilized.
The last money that we had grant for vaccine financing was 2024. Even that was not complete. Yet we have continued to immunize Nigerian children to protect them from diseases. We have outbreaks that will protect Nigerians. We did a massive measles and rubella campaign. But the counterpart funding that Nigeria should put is always late in coming. How do you explain that? Now, naturally, these actors will use other technical partners, but we have to accept. But if we want to exit dependency, the best way to be dependent, to use your sovereignty, is to use your money and release your money, and then you have full control. But you can't want to control somebody else's money and without putting your own money on the table.
Some of those things we are still going to look at the budget, and if there is any need where we need to call the ministry, we'll still call the ministry before we sign it. One thing I wanted to understand is that for some of us that are even in the health sector, Abuja declaration was done in this country here. And then up to today, many countries have gone to move their budget up to over 15%. But for many years, the budget of health is still less than 10%. and our population is growing in millions. And we are dealing with a budget that is not growing in proportion with the population. So we need to understand that in budget. And many of the things, I'm quite aware, if the intervention we did in health institutions, if the budget of 2025 was fully funded.
Now, decades after Nigeria's return to democratic rule, several communities in Rimi and Bindawa local government areas of Katsina State remain trapped in neglect and cut off by dilapidated roads, struggling without clean water and living in darkness without electricity. For residents along the Eka, Sabangari, Goji, Garingharu, Mbaba and Chibdawa Doro Road, daily life is a constant struggle, worsened by years of government inaction. Trust TV's Abdullahi Yamadi traveled through those forgotten communities and now reports.
This is a 30-kilometer feeder road that should connect lives, markets, and opportunities. Instead, it cuts them off. The road, which links more than 7 villages and about 30 ward communities, is also home to farmers and traders whose livelihoods depend on access to nearby towns. Residents say the last major attempt to fix the road was between 1985 and 1986 during the military administration of General Ibrahim Babangida. That effort, they say, was abandoned midway due to bureaucratic challenges. Nearly 4 decades later, nothing has changed. The road has deteriorated beyond recognition, turning journeys into nightmares, damaging vehicles, and delaying access to health care, markets, and schools. Despite repeated appeals to successive administrations in Katsina State, residents say their cries have gone unanswered. To them, the road has become nothing more than a political slogan, revived during election campaigns and forgotten once the polls are over. This is the first time the media is visiting Shibdawa village to listen to our problems. Our major concern is this road, followed by our market. We need proper market stalls and shops because traders abandon the market due to the lack of shades, especially during the rainy season. As you can see, electricity poles run from Eka village along the Katsina Kano road to Shibdawa, Rimi, and Bindawa local government areas. Yet, our communities remain in total darkness every night. Residents speak with pain, saying the bad road has pushed them to their knees, compounding the hardship brought by Nigeria's harsh economic realities. Beyond the road, the story of neglect continues. In Eka, schools are in ruins, health facilities are poorly equipped, and access to clean water remains a daily challenge. In Garingharu and Mbaba, residents say there are no functional water facilities at all, forcing families to rely on unsafe sources. They warn that this has exposed women and children to preventable diseases and kept many children out of school. Along the same road, electricity poles stand silently, erected more than 30 years ago, yet never connected. The communities remain in darkness night after night. Residents insist they are not asking for charity, but dignity, a chance at a decent life. They say they are tired of promises that never translate into action and warn that continued neglect could weaken their faith in the democratic process. The construction of this road will greatly help our community. It will make it easier to transport farm produce and livestock to the market, allow sick people to reach hospitals on time, and bring us closer to government and other economic opportunities. They believe that fixing the road would do more than ease transportation by opening up their communities, reducing rural, urban migration, and restore hope, not just in Katsina State, but beyond. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Many thanks, Abdullahi. And now for a bit on business. The central bank governor, Olayemi Cardoso, says the Naira is reclaiming its place as a leading currency in the West African sub-region following ongoing monetary reforms. Speaking at the National Economic Council conference in Abuja, Cardoso said improved stability has reduced the rush for foreign exchange and given businesses and travelers greater predictability. He cited easing inflation, a calmer forex market, and external reserves of about $49 billion as of February 5th as key drivers of the Naira growing strength. The CBN, he said, is now able to accumulate forex while shifting towards market-driven liquidity. Cardoso added that reforms anchored on disinflation and financial system resilience are boosting investor confidence. And away from Nigeria, 53 migrants, including 2 babies, are dead or missing after a rubber boat carrying 55 people capsized off Libya's coast, according to the International Organization for Immigration. The vessel overturned north of Zuwara on February 6th. Only 2 Nigerian women survived. One said she lost her husband, and the other her 2 infants. IOM says its team provided emergency medical care after Libyan authorities brought the survivors ashore. Survivors reported the boat left Al-Zawiya late on February 5th and capsized about 6 hours later. And now we take a quick look at the latest stories in the world of sports as we join Kabir Lawal for the update.
Nigeria has secured promotion to the Davis Cup World Group Second after a hard-fought victory over Uzbekistan in the World Group Second promotion playoffs, a result that has drawn commendation from the National Sports Commission (NSC). The decisive tie was staged at the historic Lagos Lawn Tennis Club 1895, where Nigeria confirmed promotion with a match to spare after taking an unassailable 3-1 lead on Sunday. Daniel Adeleye emerged as a standout performer, sealing promotion with a composed 6-3, 6-4 victory over Ilya Ignatov in the reverse singles to deliver the decisive point for the hosts. Reacting to the achievement, Director General NSC, Honorable Bukola Olapade, praised the players, officials and organizers for their collective effort, describing the success as a reflection of renewed momentum in Nigerian sports. Olapade noted that the achievement aligned with the federal government's broader commitment to revitalizing sports development, adding that Nigerian sport was firmly on the right track. He also highlighted the Commission's recent support for elite athletes, revealing the grant amounting to hundreds of thousands of dollars had recently been disbursed to 26 athletes as part of preparation for major international competitions, including Commonwealth Games and the Olympic Games. Nigerians' path to promotion was built on a strong showing across both days of the tie. After Saturday's opening singles ended 1-1 draw, the host gained a crucial advantage on the doubles match where Canis Abwa and Michael Emmanuel defeated Komyun Salatov and Denis Istomin 7-6, 6-4 respectively. The doubles victory proved pivotal setting the tone for Sunday's match as Nigeria went on to win both singles encounters to break deadlock and secure promotion. The return of Davis Cup World Group Second marks a significant milestone for Nigerian tennis, highlighting the team's steadiness, progress, and growing competitiveness on the global stage. That's Sport News. I am Kabir Lawal.
And it's on that sporting note that we end News Hour on Trust TV tonight. Do not forget to follow us across all our media platforms and join our YouTube live stream for more news. I am Fatima Abbas Hassan. Thanks for watching and good night.